Z to Z Podcast presents Review Z.
Good morning, good evening, or good day, and welcome to Review Z Podcast, the game review spawn of the Z to Z Podcast. If the game has achievements, then we try to cover it here. I'm your host, Damien, and thank you for listening. If you've listened to the Z to Z Podcast in the past, then you'll be familiar with our format. We bring you a separate weekly show covering just reviews of new and sometimes overlooked Xbox titles. And don't forget to check out the regular Z to Z Podcast. That show's good too, just like this, only longer. So, this week I am joined by Joe, Freem, and Warren, also known as Planting42. Joe and I will be taking a trip to the Haunted Carnival in Dark Arcana, the carnival, and Freem and Warren will be beating up the Norse undead in Zombie Vikings. All right, so here I am with Joe. Hi, Joe.
Hello.
So I guess the first question, am I pronouncing it right? Is it Arcana or Arcana? I don't see any...
I say Arcana, but that doesn't mean it's right.
Yeah. So, Dark Arcana, the carnival, from our people over at Artifacts Mundi. They published and developed this. This was released to Xbox One on March 17th, 2017, with the usual store price for Artifacts Mundi of $9.99 US in local currency. So, I guess, Joe, I'll kick it over to you for your initial thoughts and kind of talking about the story.
Yeah, cool. So, we start off with a usual carnival thing. A mum and her daughter, they go into the House of Mirrors, and then it just starts to get a little bit creepy. There are a strange man with candy and people being abducted by mirrors. And you're a detective and you have to figure out what happened and save the mum. I don't know about you, but I thought this one was shorter than normal. It took me just over 2 hours for my first playthrough. Yeah,
I found that while it's this kind of the same premise as all of them, I did find either I've just been so used to doing these hidden puzzle things now that it just goes quicker, or I'm kind of already used to their plot storyline. But yeah, it did seem that it was the first run through was, I think I was able to finish it off in a late evening, which, it did feel shorter or quicker, but, thinking about us too, I mean, one less hidden puzzle than usual? I think it had pretty much the same number that they typically do.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it was just because we're sort of old hat at this now.
Yeah, I think that's the one thing, though, I found kind of... It's starting to feel like a very standard recipe. Someone gets kidnapped, you must find them, there will be a plot twist, and you will do hidden puzzles. Or the alternate, whatever. I still don't get the other one in this one. The matching row, it's like memory, but not.
Yeah. What was it? What was it called? It had a weird name.
Monaco.
Monaco. So I'm assuming it's some kind of card game that already exists, but I have no knowledge of it.
Yeah. So, so the story on this one, like as you said, it's you kind of start out and you're having to find I guess it's a mom, right? Kidnapped mom.
Yes.
And you go through this abandoned carnival. Now, I didn't get that. Was the carnival back operating again, like it had been kicked off, or was it getting ready to be reopened?
I think it was just closed for the investigation because obviously the mum had disappeared.
Yeah. So, I think they do a solid job, Artifacts Mundi does, in this genre. This is kind of their expertise.
Yeah, I really enjoy them. I enjoyed this one too. I think the difference with this one was it was the first one where you had achievements that weren't, how should we say, round numbers, multiples of 5. I managed to unlock a 1-pointer in the first sort of 2 minutes, and I was like, whoa, this is weird.
Yeah, they've gone uneven.
Yeah, so there were 2 1s and a 3, and they were all missable if you weren't paying attention. But I managed
Speaking of which, I'm still missing the one of the ones, so at least on my second playthrough, I'll make sure to get that.
Yeah. Did you miss the one at the beginning or the one in the middle?
The middle, looking at the mirror. So I guess for listeners out there, if you're dead set on uneven gamer score, you can get all 3 of the odd achievements. Just you will probably want to look at a guide on the run through to do it, just to make sure you get them, because again, they can be missed. I don't think the shooting one is. I mean, if you weren't paying attention, yes, you can easily miss that, knowing that you have to do it correctly on the first shot. But if you look at the game real fast, I mean, getting that done, it's not hard at all. I mean, none of them are hard to get. It's just, yeah, if you didn't know what you had to do, you could miss it on your playthrough.
Yeah, I totally missed it because I just hit the wrong button. I was thinking I had a dialogue to disappear, and it just went straight in and shot the first target. I was like, balls.
Oh, dashboard.
Well, I did that the second time after I did the same thing again. Okay. So I did dashboard it, and luckily the autosave, because I was like, oh my God, I can't play this through again. But yeah, if you miss the missables on the first go, you have to play it through twice anyway, because you've got, as you said, the usual game plus hidden objects, and play it on both difficulties. So
yeah, but I'm thinking even with the 2 playthroughs, especially if you play them back to back, you can get this done in 5 hours.
Yeah, no worries. The only reason my playtime's longer than that is because I had it on pause while I was eating ice cream.
Yeah, that usually, I do that a lot. Gaming during work, pause, wander away. 2 hours later, you come back, you're like, wow, you're really slow at games. Like, kind of.
Yeah. I also had my mum calling me while I was trying to do the hidden object games. So it was like, damn, where's the pause button?
Yeah, exactly. So, but I mean, overall, I think not a bad title for them. If you're into the point and clicks, if you like their other titles, this is standard fare. I though, again, I wouldn't. I think what was a few of them back. Everclave. I think that one is.
Oh, Eventide?
No, not Eventide. It was the one where you were in the Slavic Fable one. I'm just trying to remember.
That's Eventide.
Is it Eventide? Oh, okay. I'm thinking, whichever one, I think it's that one, yeah. I always look at that as kind of, this is the de facto, this is what an Artifex Mundi game is, and it's kind of a more unique story. This one, I wouldn't put this as their, like, pinnacle of them. It's not bad for what they do, but I don't really find anything in this one, setting it apart from the rest. Just, if you're into the genre, you'll enjoy it like you enjoy the other ones. If you're looking for like a piece de resistance of Artifex Mundi, probably not my first choice.
Yeah, I wonder what order these were released on the PC, because the mechanics seem to sort of vary. Some games have the secondary mini games. Some games have the objects you have to collect, like the glitches in time and the fairies, the parrots and stuff. And it makes me wonder if they're releasing these in the order they released them on the PC, or they're releasing them in a different order, which is why some seem more polished than others.
I think it's just kind of a mix. Like, what they've probably seen is downloaded better on PC is what gets released to console sooner than later.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I noticed on one of the things they're going to, over the next 3 months, have 10 releases across all platforms. So they're not slowing down at any pace, and we'll be seeing some new Xbox One titles soon enough with achievements. So
yeah,
for the easy gamer score hunters, they'll be out there.
Yes. Well, I'm happy about that, because I really do like these games. They're just, they're nice, I guess. They're nice games. I like puzzles, I like mysteries, and the stories aren't bad. I definitely recommend playing it, and hopefully they'll do some kind of Artifex Mundi bundle in the Easter sale.
Yeah, they're a candidate now, I think, for that. There's enough titles that they have out there that would make sense. So,
I mean, I own them all, but it's great for other people.
yeah, exactly. If you're new to the franchises, you can kind of bundle up, get a bunch of them at once, and hey, use the points for G-Task. Which, speaking of G-Task, with that, I think we're both kind of in agreement. So I'll kick this over to Fream and Planting42, Warren, for their impressions on Zombie Vikings. So take it away, Fream.
You're listening to Zed to Zed.
All right, here we are with a Review Zed segment for you. This is the Zombie Vikings edition of Review Zed. I am, of course, Freamwhole. You've heard me on the regular show, and I love zombies, so this is a great fit for me. I'm joined by my illustrious co-host, Planting42. Warren, how are you doing today?
Doing great, thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, let's get started with just the basics of the game. Okay, so Zombie Vikings, it's an ID game, and it was developed by Zoink Games. You may remember Zoink from making Stick It to the Man. They also developed that game. This is the first one, it appears, they've published for the Xbox One, and it came out February 22nd, 2017, for an Xbox Live Store price of $11.99 US, and it's a beat 'em up. So there we go, laying the groundwork. You, Warren, why don't we start with you and maybe kind of give your broad take on the game?
All right. Well, overall, I thought it was kind of nice that there was a new couch co-op. You don't have to just play it on locally. You can, thankfully, use live invites. But the fact that there's a new 4-player game coming out, okay, that's kind of cool. I'm glad to see this. However, it's incredibly difficult to play solo. It's like they designed it intentionally with co-op in mind.
I mean, a lot of beat 'em ups are kind of that way, and like, so it makes sense that it's. I mean, this to me has a very traditional arcade feel. Like when I played it, it really reminded me of like the old Ninja Turtles or the Simpsons arcade, where you have the joystick and really just 2 buttons you have to worry about. There's more intricacies than that, but really I just spent the whole time hammering the main melee attack. Like I barely used anything else in most of this game, and so that was kind of cool, right? I mean, it was very approachable, easy to get into, and I love beat 'em ups. I don't know how you feel about beat 'em ups, but I'm a huge fan of your traditional just beat 'em up, Castle Crashers, Scott Pilgrim versus the World, those types of games. And so this was nice. This was a nice entry into that space.
I'm not a huge beat 'em up fan. I'm always more of a single player like Fallout and kind of playing your own adventure through. But don't get me wrong, I'll definitely beat up with friends for the best of them. The thing I liked most about this was how like you say, how simple it was, and the fact that you can actually throw your friends around. You
can throw pretty much everything around. It was shocking.
It's a bizarre design, indeed.
Yeah. So I only played about 3.5. Well, if you trust my tracker, I feel like I played more than this, but my tracker's saying 3.5 hours. Maybe it hasn't updated. I'm probably closer to 5. And I played most of this with my son. Okay, and so he's 8, right? This game is T for teen. Okay, and it's T for teen because there's crude humor, and there's some innuendo that's laced throughout this game. But let's focus on the humor here. It's painful. I get what they're trying to do from a funny joke standpoint. I felt like so many of them fell flat. It was difficult to listen to, and I mean it wasn't. Let's be frank. It's not I was expecting highbrow comedy, but even the lower brow stuff kind of missed the mark. I don't know. How did you feel about the jokes and the comedy in the game?
Initially, I thought it was going to be hilarious because I just kept laughing at it. But the fact is, it just it just grinds on. It doesn't end. Level after level. However, when you pause, the guy sings elevator music, which I thought was hilarious.
Yes, that is pretty funny. I will give them credit. This is a remarkably beautiful game. I mean, the artistic balance that they've struck here with the the graphical choices they've made, it's very pretty and they really spent a lot of time in, painting a cool landscape. The character models are interesting. The animations of them in and of themselves are good. I'll get to some other things regarding that as well, but all in all, it's fun to look at. The color palette's very interesting. It's neat. It's colorful yet dark. I mean, it does kind of remind me of Stick It to the Man. They use the same kind of graphical sensibility in that, and so that's a total plus for this game. It looks nice, and again, if you like the occasional potty humor and kind of crude jokes, I will admit I laughed a couple of times, but they get real old. The jokes get real old real fast. And not even that they repeat jokes. It's just like, oh, yeah, another, a booger joke or a poop joke or, some hideous beast, trying to hook up with somebody joke. Like, it's just, I don't know. It was... What did you think of from a graphical standpoint?
Graphically, I agree. It does look a lot like Stick It to the Man. They have a very similar color palette. But I like it. The fact every level does look unique. It's not like they kind of reused things, and there are a lot of levels. So they definitely did spend a lot of effort creating a new world there. In the sense of the story of the game, I do like that. Like, as you're playing, you're learning about the different people that you're playing as, and why they're kind of despised or abused in the methods that they are. Right.
Yeah, I suppose we should touch on that. I mean, the game is called Zombie Vikings. The premise of the story is Odin, obviously the All-Father or True Father. What do they call him? Anyway, the leader of Norse mythology or Viking mythology. He's just this crotchety old man, and Loki, right, his younger brother, comes in and pulls pranks on him and steals his eyeball. That's the opening cinematic, and cranky Odin wants to get it back, so he summons these fallen Viking warriors, of which you start with 4. And okay, this takes me to another issue that issue's the wrong word. Another piece that I was like, oh, really? The voice acting. The voice acting is really good, from the sense that the lines are delivered well, the script is adequate. The sound, like it's good. I don't like the choices. So the guy I played the most of, he is an ex Viking who you'll see his backstory, but he's the guy with the octopus in his stomach, and he's got one tentacle arm. His voice, like when he speaks, is like that's not the voice that it looks like should come out of his mouth. Like he sounds like some nerdy just dude, instead of like a long dead Viking warrior. And I mean, I think Gunborg is she's probably the next most egregious one, where it's like this. I mean, she is like the big buff Helga looking, Viking warrior woman who's just massive in stature, real strong. And she sounds kind of like a cheerleader, like a Valley Girl kind of. And I'm like, that doesn't fit either. And then there's the Hedgie character, who's the little... I mean, he is Animal from Muppets. I mean, it's just what he is. So if you picture Animal, like, smash things, blah, 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 like, that's literally him. And then there's the girl who was raised by ravens, who, like, she doesn't really bother me. Like, her voice is okay. But every time I heard him talk, I was like, it just doesn't sound like that's what should come out of your mouth. I want a different voice. Now, that being said, they're all clear and well-spoken, so great, but I don't know. What do you think?
I have to agree with you. You nailed it right there. Yeah, the only one that really fit was Ka, because her voice kind of sounded like a little thin. The rest of them were the rest of them were just, they needed to be deeper and more powerful for the people that they were in game.
Yeah, and like, it's like you said right there, you go into their backstories and stuff, and you start hearing about them, you're like, really, you're a great Viking warrior, and you sound like an accountant? Like, and maybe that's the joke, right? Maybe again, I didn't finish the story. Maybe made it 40, 50% through. I didn't realize how long it was going to be, which is great. Like, there's a lot of replay there, but, I don't know. I guess I'm kind of rambling on the voice thing here. But anyway, the rest of the story, you play through these levels. They're relatively short. The levels probably take 15 to 20, maybe 15 minutes each. Very linear. And then there's almost always a side quest, a single side quest. And you can tell on the map whether you've done them or not, which is great for cleaning up achievements on the way back. But it'll be like a slight detour off the main path, very short, easy to find, and there'll be a character you talk with, and the giant logo will come up and say, side quest, in this epic sort of, call out. And then you do something silly. And some of those side quests are actually pretty funny. One of them was, I don't know if you did this one, with the two kids, where they took that duck, the wooden duck, and they're like, hey, we lost our duck. Can you help us find it? And you're like, oh, yeah, for sure. We would love to help you kids. And you see it down this ramp, and in the water, there is the duck taped to a sea monster's head. And so you're like, oh, I got to get it from the sea monster. So you go down there, and the sea monster, sneaks up on the beach to try and eat you, and you have to, dodge it and then smack the duck off his head. I've gotten eaten multiple times by this thing. And so then you save it, and you're like, kids, I think your duck is dead, even though it's like a wooden decoy. And the kids are like, oh, yeah, thanks. We wanted you to get eaten, you jerk. That's kind of funny.
The one that came to mind for me, and I'm a little annoyed I couldn't complete it because it was one of the instances the game bugged out on me, but there was this cat lady that wanted me to go find her cat.
Oh, yeah, I remember that one.
The whole buggy thing, I guess, comes into play there. That was one of the instances where I accepted the quest, and immediately the camera moved forward to where the checkpoint was, and then I could move the camera but not see my character.
Yes.
And so frustrating.
Let's talk about that. By far, the biggest issue with this game is the bugs. There are lots of them. Most of them involve camera and character placement. It's especially bad when you have more than one character on there. So I've been playing with my son, like I said, and if you stretch the screen and someone clips past a checkpoint or somewhere where it moves, all of a sudden the camera will freak out, zoom in on one of the characters, and it won't warp the other character into frame. So you'll be off frame, moving around and getting hurt or falling into things or whatever. You can tell you're doing stuff, yet you have no possible way to get back into frame. There's also, this all very much happens on side quests and things too. There was one where there's a girl trapped inside of a whale, and we had to get this pepper machine, this sack of pepper, and then we had to throw it at the whale. And this is all done in the foreground. You got to think of so these levels are almost set up like stage plays, where it's almost like cardboard cutouts of landscape, and even your characters are they're 2-dimensional. So if you turn 180 degrees, you'll see your 2-dimensional character flip like a sheet of paper. I think that's done intentionally. It kind of has that play aesthetic, like you're watching an opera or a stage play. But anyway, so you're in the foreground, and my son fell off the dock into the water, and whenever you fall off, these ravens come and drop you onto a dock area. Well, the ravens came in, and the screen glitched and sent us into the background where the main battle was going on, the new checkpoint and stuff. And we couldn't reconcile between. It took me probably 10 minutes to try and figure out how to kill our characters so that we could restart at the checkpoint and just redo the whole thing. I probably ran into, in my, let's say, 5 hours of play, I probably ran into those types of bugs at least 6 or 7, where it was oh my God, you can't continue, and you had to restart from a checkpoint and kind of just reboot the whole system. I don't know, how many did you end up having?
I probably got about a third of the way through the game, and I remember 3 bugs, one of which I was able to get a game clip of, thankfully.
Oh, did you? There are so many that it's just it's almost always just off-screen stuff. The other thing, and I briefly touched on this, was the animations. Now, the individual animations are really good. The problem is when the game bugs out and the animations break. So I was fighting a boss, and like I was spamming him with an attack, and all of a sudden, like, he stopped moving, yet you could tell his attacks were still going. Like, he was throwing bombs even though his body wasn't moving, nor was he flipping side to side. And so, like, I had no idea what was going on. Like, I couldn't dodge his attacks or anything because all it was getting hit by was invisible bombs because the animation wasn't working. And, you know, eventually it was fine because the difficulty isn't really that extreme, especially if you have more than one person. And that's to your point from earlier. If you're playing solo, this is really a tough game solo because you die. If your character loses all his health, you should restart from the checkpoint. It's over. Whereas if you have even one other person, your head falls off and that other person could go pick your head up and put it back on your body. And you show up with like 30%, 40% health. Where I actually, even during the game, when I was playing by myself, going for achievements, and my son was sleeping, I would have the second controller right next to me. And so if I looked like I was going to die, I'd log in my second controller, let my guy die, put my head back on for a 30% boost in health, and then just log out the second controller. Or let him sit there and get beat up for a while. You know, if I knew there's going to be screen moving and stuff. That actually worked pretty well. You know, it's difficult to move multiple controllers, but even some of the achievements, so many of the achievements in this game are multiplayer focused, that you do need other people. You know, one, for instance, was this: I can see my house from here, where you need to make a 5-person tower. So you need 4, if you're doing it local, if you're doing it by yourself, you need 4 controllers to do that. Super easy to set up. I literally just wrote a TA guide for it right now because it's so easy to do. But there are some that require a lot more cohesiveness with your team. For instance, the one I'm thinking of is performing a 4-player charge attack on a Stitch zombie. Like, you need to coordinate that. You probably can't do that by yourself. That would be really, really tough. Or escaping the fish turd cannon unscathed with 4 players. Like, you're in this pit and they're just launching cannonballs on you. Like, you know, you're going to get hit unless you have 4 active people dodging those, trying to get out. So, you know, you need it. But I do enjoy the fact that you can sync up with people, right? Now it's a matter of finding 4 people who own Zombie Vikings.
That'll be the harder part. It's probably going to be easier to find someone willing to sit in your couch and play with you.
That's entirely true. It's entirely true. So in my playtime, I got 10 achievements, and I think I ended up playing, like I said, 5 hours, probably, you know, half of the levels. Most of them are easy. Many of them are actually kind of glitchy, you know, where one of them, you know, you have to catch, hold an enemy airborne for 4 seconds. Like, you literally just stab him with your sword and pick him up and make sure you don't drop him for 4 seconds. Like, that's super easy. You know, I don't really know why it's much of an achievement, but anyway.
That one didn't unlock as expected. That one unlocked in a glitch for me. At
Yes.
one point when the game froze, went black, never came back, that popped.
I had a few of those as well. The other one, like sharing is caring. That one where the text says, have all players hold an enemy before it touches the ground. So what I did is I stabbed the enemy and picked him up with the B button, right? So you're shish kebab him. And then second player came up and shish kebabbed me. So we made a 3-person tower, and boom, both players got the achievement. And now I will say that is a nice thing about this game is everything I've seen so far, all achievements unlock for all players involved.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, for instance, this tower that I made, this 5-person tower, I used, you know, a guest account, my son's account, and the review account, plus my own, and all 3 of us got the achievement. Obviously, my guest account didn't because it's a guest account, but all 3 of us got the achievement for doing the tower. So total unlocks for everybody involved, which is awesome. A lot of games don't do that. It's primary user. So look forward to that. That's pretty good. As far as completions go, I'm looking at the list. There's nothing on here I think is going to be, aside from glitching. I mean, that's going to be the biggest issue, is that it might glitch on you and you might have serious problems with glitches. But as far as executing the actual needs here, I don't see anything that's really scary. Do you?
Aside from, like you say, like the fish turd cannon with 4 players, most of these are just going to require actually having active 4 people. Besides that, no, the achievements aren't that bad, especially as long as you've got the people playing the game with you.
Yeah, and then the time, probably looking at, if I did 5 hours, we're probably looking at I'd say maybe a 12 to 15 hour completion, just kind of how I feel things are progressing. Maybe up to 20. If some of these like little final ones take a little bit more getting used to, but I don't see this much as a big completion, and I'll guess that the ending percentage is going to be in the 10 to 12% of people who play this game will complete it. That's just how I feel. Let's get to actually how we feel. Where's our review going to land? Warren, I'll kick it over to you. What do you think?
I have to call this one a conditional. Just between the price, the bugs, the fact that it does require co-op, I would be hard-pressed to say that it's a great game. However, there's enough good going for it that it's not something I would immediately just dismiss.
Totally agree. I totally agree. I think $12 is okay for the price if you're really hard up for games, or you've got some local buddies you want to play with. If you're all really interested to get into this game, I don't think it's worth $12. I think it's close. I think a 50% sale is right up this alley. You will have fun. You absolutely will have fun. And the tone that it sets is so silly and goofy that, like, even these glitches and how annoying it is, they're not so frustrating that you get mad. That it's like, oh my God, are you kidding me? Look at this. It's just, what a disaster. Like, it's just kind of part of the whole thing. And that's not to excuse them for having issues. And perhaps they'll fix them down the road. I can't, write that off. But I had a lot of fun with it. My son and I had a lot of fun with it, despite its shortcomings. So for a pure enjoyment standpoint, and the fact that it doesn't look like it'll be a difficult completion, I'd also have to say conditional buy, sale price for sure, and if you got some friends, you will absolutely have a good time with it.
All I can say is not many games offer you a cat on a stick. Just keep that in mind.
Yeah, right? I've been using the candy cane is my weapon, but my son, that is one of the kind of fun things is, so if you do a quest with another person there, typically these side quests, they give you an item, a weapon, and they'll say, oh, here it is. And so whatever it is, it's like, now you got to fight for it. And so you then have a battle to the death, like in Castle Crashers when you fought for the princess at the end. You'd have a fight to the death for whatever the weapon is. And so, yeah. And so that can be a problem for unlocking for others, right? Because it doesn't unlock for everybody. It's only the person that wins that duel. So keep that in mind for if you're sharing time. But my son actually beat me. He was spamming an attack, and he beat me and got it was a fish stick on a fork. That was his weapon. And he was like, it was like the most proud moment. He's like, I beat my dad, and now I'm running around this. It was a terrible weapon, but he loved it. He loved the fact that he took me down, and you get an achievement for it if you win one of those duels. So he was pretty stoked about it. I didn't do any of the multiplayer stuff. I feel guilty. I've totally forgot that there was an aspect here in the Tavern Brawl mode. Presumably that's like Castle Crashers with kind of wave-based attacks. There was one level where I got into a tavern brawl, and I promptly got my crap beat out of me because I was playing by myself. But as far as main story level stuff goes, there was one fun part, and you likely haven't gotten here. I've unlocked a couple of characters, and one of them, who I've been using as of recent, is the stick it to the man guy. He comes back as a zombie, and his special attack is that whatever his brain hand thing, he can like whip zombies with it. I was like, oh, this is great. It's a nice long range attack. It works really well.
No, I didn't get that far. Yeah, that would be kind of nice to have that little Easter egg in there.
Yeah, it's kind of fun. Other than that, so I think that pretty much wraps it up. You have any final comments? Anything? You and I should get in on this and try to finish this game out. Oh, we need more copies, though, don't we?
Well, yeah. Who knows? Maybe it goes on sale eventually.
Yeah, we'll have to. Anybody out there, hit us up for some Zombie Vikings because I want to finish this game now. I suppose I have 4 controllers. Warren, when are you going to come out to Minneapolis? You got any trips planned?
No, but if you ever decide to come out this way and visit like the rest of the crew, I think most of us are East Coast.
Awesome. All right. Any final words? Anything else you want to say?
Not that I can think of. I mean, if you like the potty humor, if you're in for like an absolutely silly hack and slash, then yeah, this is probably up your alley.
There you have it. I totally agree. And with that, that's going to end this segment of Review Zed. On behalf of Warren, this has been Freamwhole. Thank you so much for listening, guys, and we'll catch you next time.